Welcome, guys, to another episode of the Northside Dugout. It's me, your friend THROWEMC, joined alongside with my brother, I.DEAL. Hey, we hope you guys are enjoying what we're doing and come back for the next episode, which should drop in about a week and a half. So we're going to go through a couple of the series and talk about some of the recent acquisitions and trade moves that have gone. I.DEAL, want to kick it off?
Yes, the last time we spoke to you guys, they were in Kansas City. Was a little bit of a rough outing for Tyler Chatwood, but we just chalked it up to whatever. Since then, they went to Cleveland for a 2-game series against the Indians, and they thoroughly dominated that series, taking it by a combined total of 14 runs to 3. It was never really in question any of the games, and I don't know about you, C, but I certainly don't mind those games where the outcome is never in doubt and we got it won from the beginning.
Those are the best ones for me. You know they're winning, and I just enjoy, obviously when they're winning, everyone's happy, though, and there's such a good mood going on. So for me, that's just as good. So I'm all for it instead of those nail biters and, you hit one, they hit one, you're tied. Yeah, those are always like, These ones are good. I'll take them.
One of the highlights of the series was Tony Two Chains.
Yes. Walking around there. He crossed home plate, I think in the bottom of the third inning, or right in the third inning, and he was holding his chains, looking at his friend Javi Baez over there, and I'm like, oh Lord. But that was fun. That's cute to watch. He was happy with his new bling.
Yes, they always say if you look good, you feel good, you play good, and that was the case for the Cubs in Cleveland. So they went ahead and they traveled back home to take the Milwaukee Brewers. What happened there?
So the Cubs, like I.DEAL said, traveled back home. First out of a 4-game series with the Brewers. They took the first one. They were backed by another strong performance by Yu Darvish, but they dropped the remaining 3 to the Brewers. It was a disappointing stretch, as each of these losses, we lost by 1.
Those are always the worst.
They are. I do want to tell you, the Cubs struck out 53 times during this 4-gamer set.
What about 40 of them were hobbies?
It was horrid. And not only that, they did squander quite a few chances when they had the bases fully loaded, and they did absolutely nothing with that. Those things alone were not going to help us win those games. So a bit upsetting, but what can you do? You keep it moving.
You can't put a premium on timely hitting. After that, the Cubs welcomed the St. Louis Cardinals into town for a 5-game series, which featured one of those 7-inning doubleheaders to open the series. The Cubs dropped the opener, but were able to piece together a bullpen start and earn a split. Ultimately, the Cubs took 3 out of 5 from the Cardinals, and Yu Darvish picked up another win along the way.
All right, Darvish. Now, I do want to say that, the Cardinals series, I'm not really digging the doubleheaders. I got to be honest. The seven innings kind of are throwing things off. It feels like, maybe if you might have a chance, it's like, boom, the 7th inning comes and it's over with. So I'm not digging those. Now we're going to move right along into the White Sox. Now the White Sox traveled to Wrigley Field for a 3-game series, and certainly most people were going to see what was going on in this game. We thought a little bit different.
It certainly put a lot of people on notice.
Now, they dominated the Cubs along the way, taking 2 out of the 3 from us. The only bright spot that we had was Yu Darvish. Seems to have hit his, found his spot. Seems to be working and feeling his groove. He was off for a while in the beginning. He completed 7 innings, giving up 6 hits, 1 earned run, and striking out 10. Kimbrel and Jeffers closing it out and helping the Cubs avoid a sweep. I do want to say quickly, Darvish is now 5-1 as of that game with a 1.7 ERA on the season, but he has done this dating back to last year. The right-hander has racked up 162 strikeouts against 13 walks in 118, 2 out of 3 innings of that stretch, posting a remarkable 12.5 strikeout to walk ratio. For little factoids out there that like that little bit of information.
Darvish has finally come to what they were expecting when they signed him. I said it at the time that $126 million is really pennies on the dollar for a starting caliber front of the rotation arm, and that was what they were expecting to get with Darvish. Granted, in the beginning of his tenure here, it was a little rough going, but since then, I think he's really found his groove, and it's gotten to the point now where when the Cubs are actually on a losing streak, you're like, oh, Darvish is up. He's going to put this to an end to pick up a win. So I'm looking forward to it. After that series, they traveled to Detroit, where they lost 2 out of 3 to the Detroit Tigers. I don't know, man. It just was not a very good series overall, and they just looked discombobulated. And it seems like if they don't get superior starting pitching from their rotation, it's a tough time for them.
Seems like it's downhill from there. And you're right. The series was not interesting. It wasn't fun to watch. I was a little bit miserable watching those 3 games. Like, come on, guys, let's do something here, because there was nothing going on. It was like someone was home, but the lights were off.
That happens sometimes. After that Series C, they traveled to Cincinnati, and what happened there?
Over in Cincinnati, they had the 4-game series. They were losing by a run in each of their losses. Again, not so great, but I do have a bit of information here. In a 10-1 rout of the Reds, Kyle Schwarber. Oops, excuse me, guys. So sorry. In a 10-1 rout of the Reds, Kyle Schwarber, Jason Hayward, and Ian Happ each launched 2 home runs to push the Cubs to their 20th win of the season.
And that was the first time that has ever been done in Major League history where the outfield for a team has hit, all position players out there have hit 2 home runs in the same game.
Since 1901. And for the Cubs, it has not happened since April 16th of 1955. Ladies and gentlemen, the Luis Castillo, the Reds starter, going into Sunday's game against the Cubs, he gave up 3 of the Chicago 6 blasts. He brought the Northsiders' total to 14 runs in the 4-game set in Cincinnati. Those 14 homers were the most in a 4-game series, again, like we said, in Cubs history.
And that is where it stands at. Currently, they are in Pittsburgh right now, and they took the first game last night in a extra innings affair.
Yeah, that was
able to squeak it out.
I was like, oh, goodness. We were actually in the midst of doing something else. So we were like, what's going on? And we kept looking. I was like, they're in the 10th inning. Let's go, guys. But we did get that W. I was happy about that.
Yes. And for the big news around baseball recently, the trade deadline has come and passed. And the Cubs were active during the trade deadline. C, can you let us know about one of them?
Yes, the Cubs have acquired designated hitter Martinez from the Rays. They have been searching for a right-handed bat in the days and weeks leading up to Monday's trade deadline, and they got it with Mr. Martinez. Chicago's production against lefty pitching has suffered this season, but it's been due to a combination of injuries and inconsistencies. This is something that they've talked about within the organization a couple times. So that acquisition, they're hoping to change some things around. And like you said, get that starting lineup rolling out and get them hyped and, get something better going and get those wins.
Yeah, I think it's just more about addressing deficiencies with the team and identifying where they can actually potentially improve. For the most part, your starting lineup is set in stone. Picking up Jose Martinez from the Rays is just, like you said, addressing an issue that the team's been struggling against left-handed batting, and we'll see where that goes from there. Also, another issue that they've been having as well is they are very right-handed dominant in the bullpen. In fact, they only have one lefty, and that is by Kyle Ryan. So the Cubs went ahead and addressed their lack of lefty relief pitching with trades with Arizona's Andrew Chafin, plus cash considerations, and Boston's Josh Osich. Each player's they were traded basically for a player to be named later or cash considerations. So we'll see where that goes. And in the final moments, they went ahead and also closed the deal for the Tigers outfield, Cameron Maben, sending infield prospect Zach Short back to Detroit. And this statement was actually from general manager Jed Hoyer. It says, our focus was on improving our bench, hitting left-handed pitching, and getting more left-handed, and we addressed those things.
Maben's addition is less about hitting lefties than updating the bench with veteran production and outfield versatility in the place of struggling outfield Albert Almora Jr., who was optioned to alternate side South Bend. The 26-year-old has only gotten 34 plate appearances in 2020 after a poor showing in 2019 when he just hit .236, .271, .381.
Yes, and and also other moves that have happened. Tyler Chatwood went down recently with an elbow injury, which put Jose Quintana back into the rotation indefinitely. So it was definitely a reason for why they were very aggressive in pursuing left-handers. And as always, I think Hoyer said he always viewed Quintana as a starter more than a left-handed solution out of the bullpen. So we'll see where it is. Circling back to Chafin, he's had a 3.46 ERA in 225 appearances over the last 3 years. And he goes on the Cubs IL with the move, but is close to returning. And we'll see where that at. Chafin's splits are similar against righties and lefties, but Osich is significantly better in his career against lefties with a 211, 665 OPS versus righties, where he gives up a batting average of 292 and an OPS of 892. In order to make room on the 40-man roster, the Cubs designated infielder Hernan Hernandez and outfield Ian Miller for assignment.
On Monday, Cubs general manager Jed Hoyer noted that an MRI on Chatwood's right elbow revealed a flexor pronator strain, adding that there is no timetable for the pitcher's return. Chatwood will be placed on the 10-day injured list this was said prior to Tuesday's game, which we just briefly spoke about against the Pirates.
And in other news as well, as you guys are probably aware, Chris Bryant is back in the lineup, so Cubs look like they're getting closer to full strength. He's returned from his own finger sprain, and it was something that's been hopefully that can boost the lineup as well. It's been a disappointing year for Bryant, to say the least. He's mustered just a 177, 271, and 323 slash line over 70 plate appearances, with a significant drop in his batted ball metrics along the way. But we'll see where that goes, and it can't hurt to get a former MVP back in the lineup.
It definitely can't. But if we were going to talk about who's hot, who's not, in my who's not would have been Bryant currently. One of them, him and Baez, would have been in my who's not hot at the moment.
Him, Contreras. I mean, there's a whole, and it was surprising because he started out the season extremely hot, and spring training ball that they had. He was in the first week of the season, and I don't know. It's been a rough go, and I think, everything is so different this year with COVID that I think a lot of the guys are out of their routines and they're not able to do as much study as they might want to do. So we don't know. We'll chalk it up. Either way, they're in first place, so I can't complain, and just keep it moving forward. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we get out of here?
Who would you say, quickly, right? We talked about who's not hot. Who is hot?
I would say Ian Happ.
He's on my list.
Ian Happ has certainly put himself and has a stranglehold on the center fielder position at the moment with his bat and his glove. His glove isn't as good as Almora's, but as you see, Almora has not been optioned to the alternate site in South Bend, whereas Ian Happ is your everyday starter in center field and is also taken over the leadoff role. Yeah,
he has. A very good job. I mean, I've been excited to watch him play. I mean, he's getting up there, and you're like, okay, he's going to do something, and he has. He's produced, and it's been fun to see that for him.
Okay. Who was your guy that was hot?
I said the other one for me was Hayward.
Hayward has actually been extremely hot.
He has turned, in the beginning, I don't know what was going on, but he's turned himself around in the last few series. And
I would argue to say he's been your best position player this year. And
I would have to agree with that.
That's high praise coming from me, because I've been at a game and yelled it to the opposing team's second baseman to get ready, because Hayward was about to weakly ground the ball over to him, and he did. But alas, I can admit he's playing good right now, and keep it up, Jason.
Thanks so much for that, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We hope you had a decent time with us and you got some information out, and we hope you tune into our next episode.
And this is episode 3 of the Northside Dugout. Y'all know what it is. Be good, be safe, treat each other with respect and love. Until then, we'll see y'all around.
Light, love, and peace, guys.